No, you get to conclude. All right. Well, this is a tremendous, tremendous day. I'm State Senator Scott Dibble, who was the chief author along with my good friend, Representative Jim Dabney in the House. Well, today, Minnesota passes that test that Hubert Humphrey put to us many years ago. The moral test of our government, how we at the dawn of life, young people here, those at the twilight of life, the elderly, and those in the shadows of life, those with disabilities. I cannot be more proud of our democracy than in these amazing special moments when we're able to build a movement and prevail against long odds on behalf of those who have no voice here at the Capitol. For a moment about who we do after today has the hope of a better future. Yep. The student, the young people who, for whatever reason, feels defenseless against the attacks, maybe feels responsible or even a little bit guilty for what they're experiencing. Alone, marginalized, and despairing. Parents who are worried and frustrated, teachers who feel the same. After today, and in Minnesota, no child should feel unsafe, unwelcome, unloved in their own school. Yeah. No parent should feel like they have nowhere to turn when trying to help their child. No teacher should feel like they're risking their job if they reach out to help that student who belongs to an unpopular minority, who's being targeted because of who they are. Today, we show that Minnesota is better than that. Today, a governor of the state of Minnesota says to that young person, I hear you. My heart is so full. The list of thanks are way too long. I'm going to try just a little bit. This is an incomplete list, but I have to start by thanking our governor, Governor Mark Dayton. Governor Mark Dayton talked about this issue, the issue of bullying in schools. While he was campaigning, he was very clear about his values and his morals on this subject. And he has lent the fullness of his voice and the fullness of his office, pulling together that task force that did that amazing, important, vital work of pulling together stakeholders, parents, experts, people in every corner from across a broad spectrum in this state. But most importantly, you know who stepped forward? Young people in meeting after meeting. And they talked to us about the reality of their lives. And my incredible colleague, my hero, my amazing good friend, Representative Jim Dabney. I hope folks watched those 12 hours yesterday on the floor. He gave voice. 12 hours of onslaught, he gave voice to those who have no voice. He was their voice, and it was something to behold. The members of the governor's task force, our chairs, Julie Herzog from Pacer, Walter Roberts from Mankato State. We have Dr. Tom Scott from the Academy of Pediatricians. Jake Rayton is here. Our commissioners, Brenda Caselius and Kevin Lindsay, attended every single one of those task force meetings and provided tremendous support and guidance and technical assistance as we crafted this policy proposal and moved it through the process. And, of course, the incredible, incomparable Safe Schools Coalition, all these amazing people up here. I hate to name names. It's going to be it's a dangerous path, but, of course, spearheaded by Outfront Minnesota, Monica Meyer, Nikki Mabry, Chris Stinson, Katrina Potts, Gene Heyer. Day in, day out, organizing hundreds of people to be engaged and in contact and in relationship with their elected officials, doing the work in the hallways. It's how we get good work done, hard work done. We build movement and we engage in the process in this building. It's how democracy is supposed to work, and they made it beautiful and they made it sing. Ain't pretty, but beautiful at the same time. Representatives from Pacer, our teachers, but again, I just go back to the young people. Those hearings in the Senate and the House, people leaning in and working through their pain, working through the experience of their life, bringing such amazing passion, fury, courage, dignity, power, and their insistence that we do better by them, and their insistence that we all do better when we all do better. Thank you very much.
It's always hard following Scott Dibble. Good afternoon. I'm Representative Jim Dabney. I had the honor and pleasure of carrying the Safe and Supportive Minnesota Schools bill in the Minnesota House. And I, too, am filled with gratitude today to many, many people. I will try to shorten the list a little bit, but Governor, your leadership, your clear vision, and your clear voice for Minnesota students comes to root today in this, and thank you for that. To Commissioner Casalius and Commissioner Lindsay, your hard work and leadership pays off for all Minnesotans today. For the members of the task force, over 104, members of the task force, Minnesota deserves, you deserve Minnesota's thanks and gratitude for the hours that the task force put in, traveling the state, researching, and working collaboratively to develop what became the Safe Schools for All bill. And I share Senator Dibble's deep sense of gratitude to the Safe Schools for All Coalition. Over 140 organizations across the state, from the faith movement, the labor movement, educators, and youth development community, all across the state, led by Outfront Minnesota, to compose and carry the Safe Schools for All bill to this day, where it becomes law in Minnesota. With the governor's signature today, we turn the weakest anti-bullying statute in the country and exchange it for a comprehensive approach that empowers students, parents, teachers, and administrators to build, create, and maintain safe and welcoming schools in every community across this state. It's in those schools where every student knows that they're accepted, that their families are respected, and that they can then grow, develop, learn, achieve, graduate, and come to take their place, and my colleagues, our place here in the Minnesota of the 21st century. With this bill, we position Minnesota in the leadership of the next generation of education reform, which is looking at the climates that our children learn in each and every day. Minnesota belongs in the forefront of education, and with your signature today, Governor, you help put us back in the forefront of education nationally. Our schools are getting wonderfully more diverse. Immigrant communities are coming from around the world and settling in our towns and cities across the state, adding diverse viewpoints, languages, and cultures. Lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender youth are coming out earlier in their lives and expecting and respect and safety in their schools. Students with disabilities are increasingly self-advocating and asking for more opportunities. Those students and every student in Minnesota deserves a school that prepares them to take their place wherever they find it in Minnesota's future. New challenges require new tools. A central value of public education in the United States, since it began 100 and more years ago, has always been to prepare young people for citizenship and to inculcate in them the important civic values of respect for others and respect for diversity. The Safe Schools for All bill builds on that traditional value and will help Minnesota's students better prepare for the increasingly diverse workforce of tomorrow. Governor, colleagues, members of the coalition, students who stood up, commissioners, thank you. Today we begin a new chapter in Minnesota schools for all of Minnesota's students. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jake Ross and I'm 11 years old. I am also a Boy Scout. I am a Christian, and I am a member of the Minnesota Safe Schools for All Coalition. It is my true honor to be here today at our state capitol for this historic event, Governor Dayton signing into law the Safe and Supportive Minnesota Schools Act. This is a day that I have been dreaming about for a very long time, and today it is happening. Today marks the beginning of all children and youth getting the protection they deserve from the pain and suffering of bullying. Today marks the beginning of a change in thinking about bullying. From the mindset that bullying is just something that happens to kids, to bullying is something that should not be happening to any kid. I am so happy for this day. I'm very happy for this day because I know what it's like to be the kid that bullying just happens to. I was the target of repeated bullying 4 years ago at the elementary school I then attended. The bullying that happened to me included physical harm, verbal threats, intimidation, and stealing. I was hit regularly, pushed around, my belongings were taken from me, and I was called names, I was attacked and repeatedly pushed to the ground at recess, and threats of "I'm going to kill you if you tell anyone" were made against me. I've shared my story of bullying at legislative hearings for the Safe Schools bill, and I have shared my story with other community organizations. I have shared my story for this reason. I want to prevent other kids from experiencing bullying because I know how much it hurts. No kid deserves to be bullied. All kids need to feel safe. Here's my story. When I was 7 years old and in second grade, I was the victim of ongoing and repeated bullying at the elementary school I then attended. The bullying that happened to me included physical harm, verbal threats, intimidation, and stealing. The physical harm and intimidation that happened to me included that I was hit repeatedly in the hallways and other places in school. The students did this because they thought it was funny. Being hit all the time and laughed at made me feel sad and hurt. These same students pushed me around on the ground every day while I waited at the after-school curbside pickup area in the cafeteria. These students also took my backpack and other belongings every day while I waited in this area. I didn't like any of this. This made me feel frustrated, angry, and hurt that I couldn't stop my belongings from being taken from me, and I couldn't keep myself from getting pushed around. One of the worst incidences of when I was physically hurt and threatened was during lunch and recess on February 2nd, 2010. On this day, while I was eating lunch at our assigned classroom table in the cafeteria, one of the bullying students stood up at the lunch table and said very loudly, "Who's going to help me beat up Jake today?" Then, following lunch outside at recess, I was cornered and attacked. I was pushed to the ground repeatedly, up to 20 times. I tried to get away, but I could not. When the recess whistle finally blew and everyone went inside of the school, the student who had attacked me yelled to me repeatedly. I'm going to kill you if you tell anyone. I'm going to kill you tomorrow. This made me feel scared because I was afraid that he might try to seriously injure me the next day. I was scared about this for many, many more days following this attack, and I was scared about what was going to happen to me next at school. Having all this bullying and peer abuse happen to me at school made me feel really scared. Going to school was hard for me every day because I didn't know what would happen to me there. I constantly had to worry about what would happen to me at school. This ongoing bullying that happened to me was reported throughout the school year, but the school did not have any policies for what to do when bullying occurs. The bullying did not stop, and it continued through the end of the school year. Because this school would not provide a safe learning environment for me, my parents took me and my younger sister out of this school. I know my story of being bullied is very sad, but there are countless other kids with stories of bullying that are similar or worse than mine. I've met with some of these young people, including Christian, Alec, and Christine. I've collected over 500 petition signatures for this Safe Schools bill, and each time I collected signatures, I heard so many sad stories of children and young people being bullied. If you are a young person here today who has been the target of bullying, I would just like to say that I understand your feelings and I support you, and I wish you freedom from the pain of bullying. The Safe and Supportive Minnesota Schools Act becoming law today is monumental to all of us kids in Minnesota because it means that our safety and well-being will be a bigger priority. All children and youth in Minnesota will now be able to go to school and feel safe and valued. School workers will now understand what bullying is. They will understand how to protect students from bullying. There will be training for staff and students on bullying prevention, and effective procedures that emphasize peacemaking will be used when bullying happens. The passage of this bill into law today symbolizes the change in how bullying will be viewed. No longer will it be accepted that bullying just happens and is a part of growing up. Now bullying will be viewed as something that needs to be prevented. Prevented so that us kids can grow up healthy and whole, not broken and hurt. The passage of this bill into law today is important so that the tragedy that happened to Jeremiah Geddes does not happen to any other young person in Minnesota. My friend, Ann Geddes' son, Jeremiah, was bullied very badly. He died of suicide. Ann, I'm so sorry that this happened to your son, Jeremiah. With this bill becoming law today, we pay honor to Jeremiah and your work to make the world a kinder place. Today is a very good day for all of us kids in Minnesota, and I would like to give some well-deserved thank yous to all those who have worked so hard to make this day in history a reality. Governor Dayton, who commissioned the task force that researched the problem of bullying and who is signing this bill into law today. Governor Dayton's task force on bullying prevention, who gave recommendations for how to improve bullying policies in Minnesota schools. Representative Dabney, who was the House author of the Safe and Supportive Minnesota Schools Act and who carried the bill through the House of Representatives committees and through an 11-hour floor session last night. You're a true leader and hero. Senator Dibble, who was the Senate author of the Safe and Supportive Minnesota Schools Act. You brought this bill through many Senate committees and through the big Senate floor vote last Thursday. You're an awesome leader. You know that quote by Senator Wellstone you shared with me, "We all do better when we all do better"? It's so true. Thank you for being a role model to me. You have inspired me to be a future leader for justice and peace, and I'm glad to have you as my friend. To the many representatives and senators who supported this Safe Schools bill, thank you for voting yes on this bill. Your vote on this bill is a vote for kids. We all like happy endings, so thank you for using your good powers to give all of us kids a happy ending. The Minnesota Safe Schools for All Coalition, for your teamwork in advocating for this bill. Minnesota for being the team leaders that you are, for organizing and rallying the players to win this one for all children and young people in Minnesota. Thank you for teaching me how to be strong and brave. You have empowered me to speak for justice and peace. Thank you, my friends. I'm a better person because of you. Everyone, today is a great day. Our story has a happy ending. Happy endings are about the human spirit's capacity to love, and when we allow that love that is inside our hearts to lead the way, happy endings happen. God bless all the children and young people, and all of you. Thank you.
Wow, that's right. Put the superintendent after the star of the show. Oh my goodness. One more round of applause. That was awesome. And that is absolutely why we're here today. My name is Jay Haugen. I'm superintendent of schools in Farmington, Minnesota, but I'm really here as president of the Minnesota Association of School Administrators. All the superintendents and assistant superintendents and directors really in this state of North Dakota. I'm really pleased to have been asked to be here today because, you know, in this process, we've probably been more of a thorn than we are, supportive at times. And I just wanted to acknowledge that we have been very challenging about this, but we really want people to know we've been challenging not because of the direction that this is headed and that this is needed, but that what is that bill that will lead us and allow school districts to make the changes they need to change to keep things from being one size fits all and to keep things from having too much compliance so we lose focus on what we're really after. And in the end, the bill that came forth is one that we not only supported, but we're very, very proud to support. It's a bill that has our heart, not just our head. So thanks for all of you who worked so hard to make this such a success. You know, superintendents, when we get together and talk about this issue, it's clear that for us, this is the issue of our time. This is the issue of a generation. This is a cause to get behind. This is one where we can take a stand in this generation so that future generations do not have to suffer the way that past generations have. So one of the things I do want to do as superintendent of schools, I've been 18 years a superintendent, is apologize. Apologize for all the students who have been bullied in schools that I have led and been part of. And really to apologize for all those school districts across the state and all the students and the things that, that they have had to endure. And this bill, and especially the language which now unites us. Part of the issue around bullying in this state is every one of us was kind of on our own. And now we're united. We're united by an understanding of what bullying means in the state of Minnesota. And we're united with support from all of you. And so as I look to the future, you do have our heart. You have our minds, and I'm excited for the time and look forward to the time in generation in the future when looking back, well, when they will not be able to, the only way they will know what bullying is by looking it up in a history book. So, thank you, and now, Governor, it's up to you to close the show.
I want to thank everyone who's here today, especially all the young people who are here. And Jake, what a terrific spokesperson you were for all of them, for all of us. You know, I want to especially recognize and give credit to Senator Dibble and Representative Dabney. I mean, you guys are just phenomenal, both of you. Just phenomenal. in working so long and hard over the last 2 years to bring this day to its conclusion, and also for enduring the hours and hours on the Senate and House floors. And, you know, most of what was said on both sides of the question, from what I read and saw, were, you know, heartfelt, sincere expressions, concerns, and that has a good place here in this Capitol where all points of view are honored. But when I read and saw that people were using words like fascism and Orwellian, that's where I draw the line. You know, the First Amendment guarantees free speech, but it doesn't distinguish between intelligent speech and unintelligent speech. And slanderous statements like that have no place in the Capitol in the state of Minnesota, and certainly have no place in application of this bill. This bill is as American as any bill could be. You know, the founding principle of this country is that we're all created equal. We're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Unalienable, that means they can't be taken away from us by any human being. They come from God. You know, those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, bullying atrocities have cost some people their lives. What could be more severe than depriving somebody of the very life that they've been given? Liberty, the pursuit of happiness, requires you feel good about yourself for being who you are. It requires that you accept yourself and that experience others who accept you for being who you are. Nobody in this state or nation or world should have to feel bad about themselves for being who they are. And that's why this legislation, as Jake said, you know, you wish it weren't necessary. James Madison said, if men were angels, government would not be necessary. Well, we're not, unfortunately, angels, and some people really abuse their positions. And if you learn to be a bully and can get away with it when you're young, you're going to continue that kind of behavior throughout your adult life, and we all deal with bullies that are of any age, but especially when you're young, especially when you're forming your opinion of yourself, especially when your friends and classmates and others' opinions of you matter so much. It just can't happen here in Minnesota. Not in Minnesota. This law says not in Minnesota. It says that if you exercise the kind of good judgment that most teachers and educators and administrators have, you're already following the law. But if you're not, if you're letting that kind of abuse happen in your school, in your classroom, then yeah, then you need a law, and you need to really understand what your responsibility is. It's not only to provide the kind of academic excellence that our young people are going to need, it's to provide the kind of emotional, maturational experiences and guidance that they're going to need to be successful in their lives, to be successful in this society, to be successful in this world. So thank you very much again, all of you legislators who are here, who worked so hard, endured so much, the task force, Commissioner Cassellius, Commissioner Lindsay, thank you very much.